If you look at the best laps they did on the soft tyre this afternoon in Turkey on the red Pirelli tyre, Lewis Hamilton 23.8, Charles Leclerc 23.9. You might get a bit excited about that and think, yeah, we got a motor race. Well, have no fear. I think we have a motor race. When they put fuel in the car, the Mercedes was what? Half a second, 3/4 of a second, a lap quicker than the Ferrari. So don't get too excited about those soft tyre runs. On the face of it right now, a Lewis Hamilton walkover. But that isn't going to be the case. We do have a motor race in Turkey for two reasons. One, because Lewis is going to be starting with a 10-place grid penalty. So what we've seen today is Mercedes trying to get Lewis out on the perfect lap so he can at least start P10 rather than say P11 or P12, and there's a pretty good chance that's exactly what will happen. But the other reason we're going to have a motor race, probably, hopefully, is because as last year at Turkey, they are forecasting rain on Saturday and Sunday. Admittedly, showers at this point, so we don't know exactly when that rain is going to fall. But if you put Lewis Hamilton P10, but really quick, the Mercedes looks fabulous around the circuit at the moment, and a bit of rain in there, yep, as I say, we've got a motor race. There's another factor in there as well, because although you would expect this time around, with Mercedes taking the penalty and Max Verstappen having no issues at all so far in the Red Bull Honda, which is wearing really nice red and white livery for this race, in tribute to Suzuka, to the Japanese Grand Prix, which was originally scheduled for this date. It's not happening now for COVID reasons, but really nice to see Red Bull in this last year of Honda's factory participation, dressing the car up with Japanese language on the back of the rear wing and this red and white colour scheme, in homage, of course, to the Japanese national colours. Very John Surtees, I thought, so good to see. Although, from Max's point of view, it doesn't look as if it brought him too much good fortune, because although he was quite quick out of the box when the track was surprisingly grippy, they paid a lot of attention to getting the track right this year, and there's much more grip than 12 months ago. And as the drivers were going out and finding that new grippy surface, Max Verstappen looked pretty good. After half an hour into the session on Friday morning, however, Max was on the radio saying, I've lost the front end, I've lost the front end. And in the afternoon, I've lost the rear end, the car's really snappy. He kept saying that I felt it was the tyres. At one point, he came in and put on more front wing. And by the end, when he was out running on heavy fuel, he put a lot more wing on and lost about 10 kilometres in a straight line. It looked to be pretty much a Max Verstappen thing, because Sergio Perez looked pretty quick all day, both on light fuel and heavy fuel. So the hope, of course, is that they do find something on Max's car that will explain this rather strange change of pace that we saw, as I say, 30 minutes into FP1 this morning. So although, as I say, this should be Max Verstappen saying, yeah, pop the champagne cork, here is a win coming up, it doesn't actually look that easy for Max right now. I'm sure Sergio Perez won't give him any trouble. That would be his role. But Ferrari looked really quick. And all day, Charles Leclerc has been quicker than Max Verstappen. Whenever they've been out, it's always been Charles who's been the faster of the two drivers. Charles Leclerc looking really good around Turkey. Watching him through turn 8, just superb. It's an impressive corner, turn 8. In case you don't know about it, it's a 4 apex corner. And you pick up speed as you go through. The entry speed's about 265 kilometers an hour, and they're doing about 290 as they come out. They go in accelerating into 7th gear. They hold 7th gear. Charles just short of flat in 7th for the first 3 apices, and then as they come to the 4th, he's completely flat and gets 8th just coming out. Interesting, the Renaults are taking the corner in 7th and holding 7th on the next straight down to the chicane at the bottom of the hill there, which would indicate, of course, obviously different ratios, and they're kind of stuck with the ratios they've got, and equally the different power curves of the engine, Renault versus Ferrari. And Mercedes and Honda, got to say, very similar to the Ferrari in that sense. So turn 8, really impressive. It's about 4.5, 4.6 lateral G, but 4.6 G for a long time. And that is what Turkey is all about, a lot of G for a long time. It's a very tough circuit physically. It's sort of medium downforce, and already we've seen that the key to a great lap in Turkey is, as Felipe Massa discovered all those years ago when he usually put it over Michael Schumacher at Ferrari in Turkey. The key to the lap, a little bit like Sochi, is to make sure you've got your tyres in great shape by the time you get to Sector 3. Because in Sector 3, towards the end of the lap, right at the end of the lap, there's a lot of braking and a lot of slow speed traction where you need a lot of grip. And if you've used your tyres up too much in sectors 1 and 2, we're talking about a new set of softs here, Sector 3 could kill your pole lap. So whoever's going to be on the pole tomorrow will need to be really good in Sector 3. It's the most boring part of the circuit because it is all sort of slow speed, change of direction, but it adds up to the lap time or takes away from the lap time, whichever way you want to look at it. We saw today relatively cool ambience. The sun was shining. The soft tyre looked to be a great race tyre. That's the good news. The medium tyre looked to be a tyre that you had to warm up quite impressively. Valtteri Bottas had a massive lock-up on his second flying lap on mediums this afternoon with quite a lot of fuel on board going into turn 1. Fairly typical at Turkey. And the hard tyre, well, the hard tyre is presumably there. I guess Lewis will probably try and start on the hard tyre. But the amount of running he's done today on the medium and the soft, he'll be thinking, yeah, I need to be on one of those two tyres throughout the race. Obviously starting on the medium if it's going to be one of those two. So, Lewis Hamilton incredibly in the groove and underlining the comment we've been making since Silverstone that the new Pirelli constructions have definitely helped Mercedes close the gap to Red Bull. And all of a sudden, for the first time since Silverstone, we've got Max Verstappen really saying the car doesn't feel that good. I've got no front end initially and then snappy oversteer. And I was talking about those top speeds. Let's just be really accurate about that. Max at the end, when he's doing his long run on medium tyres, did a 28.1, best of a 28.1. Lewis 27.3, and this is on fuel. Max top speed when he's doing that 28.1, 284 kilometers an hour. Lewis's top speed, 300 kilometers an hour. And that's going into just before the braking area at the last section of the lap, that long uphill section. So on that basis, Max Verstappen in big trouble, even with Lewis Hamilton with that 10-place grid penalty. Is he going to be able to beat, at the moment, on the face of it, Charles Leclerc, who on fuel, 27.8, and just as a reminder, Max 28.1, that was the best of the fuel runs, and they both did good long runs. And Charles, interestingly, 313 kilometers an hour, didn't really lose much with fuel on board. He's doing 325 kilometers an hour empty, 313 full. So Charles in the Ferrari, top speed advantage, quicker on the lap with fuel than Max Verstappen. And as I say, half a second, 3/4 of a second lap slower than Lewis Hamilton, but a lot quicker in a straight line. And although that doesn't matter that much in these days of DRS, it's significant because it indicates how much drag the car has got, and that has a factor, of course, on fuel saving and usage of power during the race. Just to confirm the times on soft tyres, Lewis Hamilton 23.8 and doing that top speed 328 kilometers an hour. Charles Leclerc 123.9, top speed 325 kilometers an hour. Max Verstappen at the same time 24.4. So Max 24.4 when Lewis is doing a 23.8 on a soft tyre run, and Max at that point about the same in top speed. So you can see they've gone from Red Bull with Max, they've gone from 326 top speed, light fuel load, soft tyre, to 284 medium tyre, long fuel run. That shows how much wing they've put on, trying to get the car to work, to cure the understeer, and then to obviously to try to get the back end to sit a bit more effectively on the track. And I guess that's, that's interesting, isn't it? Because you've got Red Bull there going to Turkey with a setup that they think gives them a top speed commensurate with Mercedes, which would be kind of where they were at the start of the year. But now, all of a sudden, to have any sort of grip level on the car, they've got to add a lot of wing. So if this is a decisive moment as we go into this last phase of the championship, we can categorically say now that the Mercedes on these new Pirellis is as effective a chassis as the Red Bull. So, and here we have Lewis Hamilton though with that 10-place grid penalty. A few other notes from Friday. I won't go on too long on this video because it is only Friday. Some new gloves were being tried by various drivers, and that's a good thing. That's a safety thing, just to try to change, to see if they can improve the fire resistance of the gloves. So that was tested on Friday. Speaking of other parts of the driver's apparel, Kimi Räikkönen complaining massively this afternoon about water leaking into his boots, as he called them, from the drink system. And he actually I thought he went completely over the top. We heard Kimi on the radio as the mechanics were trying to mess around with the water pump for the drink system, try and find where this leak was. Kimi saying the most simple part of the car and you can't even get it right. you know, I don't think a driver should be saying that. He is an employee of the company. I'm a big Kimi fan, as you all know. You've probably been watching, you know, those watch for a long time on this channel. You'd know I'm a Kimi fan. But I thought this was completely beyond the bounds of reasonable comment. And Kimi saying, can't you get this right? It's a very simple part of the car. I think, you know, if I was Freddie Vasseur now, I'd say, right, okay, let's put Guarniajo in the car. You know, we'll give him some mileage now. I'm fed up with this. This is ridiculous. That was what I would do anyway. The other point, a couple of other points. Yuki Tsunoda, you're not obviously watching these videos, and there's no surprise there. But I gave you a hard time after Monza for saying Kubica, idiot. And now you've gone and done the same thing, but you've added the F word to it. And this time it was directed towards Antonio Giovinazzi, who is a pretty good racing driver, Yuki. So it's about time you stop calling these guys idiots, you show some respect, and you keep your mouth shut, I think. I know this is Honda Suzuka week, and we should be acknowledging the incredible role that Japan has played in Formula One ever since 1964, when the Honda first appeared at the German Grand Prix in the hands of Ronnie Bucknam. But there is no excuse for these sorts of comments on live television, Yuki Tsunoda, and it needs to be stopped now, in my opinion. An award, I've got to give it a couple of awards now. One to, I think it was Mark Slade. Talking to Fernando on the radio today. Mark's been all over, a great engineer, McLaren, Renault, and now Alpine, obviously. And he said, talking to Fernando, as Fernando was coming into the pit lane, he said, did we degrade, I've got to read this because it's so brilliant, did we degrade entry stability with less front wing? And I think that means, was the car any better or worse with less front wing? But for an engineer to say, did we degrade entry stability, I think is brilliant. Okay, I could never have thought of that phrase. And the other one I love, the interchange between, and it shows why he's so on the case this weekend and why he's so in the zone. Ferrari engineer talking to Charles Leclerc said, Charles, our recommendation is brake balance +1. In other words, just go one turn on the brake balance. And Charles replied, your suggestion is not in line with what I'm feeling. And I think that sums it up. It's all about feel, and that's what Charles Leclerc is all about, feel. It's not about digital turns. And that, of course, also applies to Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen. So see you tomorrow. Remember that Lewis Hamilton has that 10-place grid penalty. And as it happens, Carlos Sainz also has an even bigger penalty. He'll be starting from the back of the grid because they're changing all the elements of his power unit, whereas in Lewis's case, they're just changing some of the elements of his power unit. Kind of get what I mean there, I think. Anyway, see you tomorrow. It might be showery. Lewis has got that penalty. Sainz from the back of the grid. Max Verstappen not looking great at the moment. Ferrari and Charles Leclerc looking really quick. How's it all going to end up? See you over the weekend.